Hi, welcome back. In this video, I will brief you about the kind of mistakes that are done in this document, and I want you to rework on those things and fix it properly. As a part of the video, I will also tell you some thumb rules that should be followed by you. Okay? First thing is, please avoid using which. Okay? So, we can't use which. Rather than using which, try to use that. Okay, maybe for example that helps them to make better decisions and enhance. In that way you can use in this sentence by replacing which with that. Okay, so that is the first thing you need to focus on, and you're not supposed to use can, maybe in the document. Please cross check your document and update it. First thumb rule I want to let you know is, never write introductory paragraph before completing your document. For example, when you are writing about Hadoop, after completing your work, at the last moment, please write your first paragraph. Otherwise, your document contains inappropriate introductory paragraph, by reading which the person who is reading your document might get distracted or dissatisfied. Okay, so if you see this paragraph, like these are four sentences that are made from one sentence. Okay, so if you read the first sentence, the companies all over the world has using, usually it is a plural word. Companies means it's a plural thing, right? So you need to know like how to frame a sentence when we are using plural. World has using, except you are you like continuous has been using, maybe were using, you should have used in that way. Okay, so it's a plural thing you're discussing about. For long time, what is the purpose of using it? Have been using data for long time. Okay, then it is an incomplete statement, because like usually when we write this kind of sentence we immediately mention purpose of using that data, using long time data for long time to make business decisions and enhance business operations. Okay, maybe that is one sentence. And next, where big data is a large amount of data, right? So come on, see, that's why I'm telling you, see, before completing your like after completing your document, please write your introductory paragraph. See, I want to see some best paragraph for introduction. Okay, I don't want to see this kind of statements. See, if you see this statement, for example, so which is coming from, say, where big data is a large amount of data, which is coming from, the daily uses of human like full stop. What do you mean by human like? So this is a one sentence maybe, which is coming from daily use of telephone data, telephones, mobiles, computers. Maybe that is one statement. You broke into two statements, and the two statements are improper statements. So please cross check your work before you send. Whatever the statement you made, that should create some meaning. That should be creating some meaning out of it. Okay, it should send some meaning out of it. Okay, we should, people who are reading it should send some meaning out of it. Okay, so please do understand and try to give your introductory paragraph after completing your data. Okay, this complete paragraph should be changed. I don't see any meaning in these sentences. So here, let us cross check this one. This big data was first taken by the online firms. Like I don't know what is meaning out of first taken by online firms. In this big data analysis, the tools are continuously updated. Many tools are now new tools are introduced on the regular basis. I can understand your intention, but I don't see any meaningful explanation, proper explanation of. Maybe you could have said that like big data tools are like upgraded date on regular basis. No, you can't say regular basis also. Are frequently updated and released. Or like big data tools are becoming dynamic these days, and most of the tools are replaced with new ones. In that way you could have mentioned it. See, your purpose is like you want to say that, you want to convey that big data tools are upgraded very frequently. Usually we don't update it on regular basis. It's not a pro rata kind of thing, or like a rotation or rota kind of thing. So people develop new innovative things. You can mention that. So big data tools are frequently updated. New technologies are developed at high pace. In that way, you could have mentioned it. So I can't take like see for these silly things I can't explain you. I mean, so for this such a small things, like if you could have addressed this paragraph after completing your this document, this complete body part, you could have written it more improved in more improved version. Okay, maybe you could have started detailing about what is big data and how, why big data is important, what are the benefits of big data in short note. Okay, so maybe you could have addressed in that way. Otherwise, like usually you should address half part of your first paragraph should be about big data and next it should be about big data Hadoop. Okay, so please address your introductory paragraph after completing your document. Okay, make it a thumb rule. Okay, it is the rule number one that you should follow. Next, we're coming to your work. See, the question is that we need to identify shortcomings of the big data technology, means shortcomings and big issues that are existing in big data technology, and the kind of solutions Hadoop can offer to big data management technology. So maybe if you identify some of the advantages of like some of the operations, like the kind of activities big data do, the kind of operations Hadoop perform while it is applied for big data technology, you can understand what big data does. Okay, so maybe those aspects are problems to the big data. Okay, for example, maybe maintenance of when we got large volume of data, maintenance of file system might be issue for big data. Okay, so to address it, maybe we need some appropriate file management system. So we might be using Hadoop is a bit. So you need to identify what are the problems that are existing in big data and what problems are solved by Hadoop. Okay, so first identify what are the issues and write about the activities that Hadoop does, or how Hadoop is helping, or how Hadoop is doing, performing to overcome those problems. That should be addressed. So you need to identify problems experienced with the big data, and then what kind of activities Hadoop is performed, what kind of benefits Hadoop is giving to the big data, that should be addressed. So I see that you mentioned some of the components that are part of Hadoop architecture and some of the activities that it does. But here what I say is, if you see some problem, like I can see that you quoted some problems, but I don't know why you quoted in question marks. So you could have explained it properly, right? So large volumes of transactional data, what do you mean by that? How it is influencing big data technology? And moving the large volume of static data across the network. So whatever it is, like whatever the problems you identified, so you could have mentioned it in a proper way. Like you could have elaborated those problems rather than mentioning it in questions form. Explain what is the problem. Okay. Next, this is fine, but what I think is like I understand that these architectural elements, like each and every architectural element activity, when we combine all together, it becomes Hadoop. I do understand, but you can improvise it by properly addressing what is asked in, like what kind of benefits that are required for big data technology, that should be addressed. Okay, please cross check that one and make changes. So you can keep these things, otherwise like what I mean is you can keep these things, that's not a problem. But while addressing the problems, you should say that because of Hadoop's base, the problem mentioned over here is addressed. Okay, so because of HBase, the problem mentioned over here is addressed in that way. So what kind of problems HBase resolves, what kind of problems Scoop resolves, what kind of problems Hadoop resolves. If you cross check internet for these things, you could have like identified proper information related to it. Okay, please cross check and address it properly. When we come to the next level, see, this is totally related to the map reduce. So when we have large volumes of data, as it is largely resource consuming when we consider whole, like whatever the data that is available. So for that purpose, what we do, we try to reduce that data into smaller factors. Like maybe for example, if you got 10 different factors that might be influencing your grade, so maybe a few, like when we got maybe 5 or 6 factors are enough to address the situation. Okay, that is what we call, like rather than using 10 factors, we might be using only 5 or 6 factors. That's what we call reducing complete stress. All right, so that's what we call map reducing. Like when we got large, we got 1 gigabyte of data available with us, and maybe by you applying map reduce technique, we might be reduce that total data or total mappings into maybe 50% or less. So it improves performance, it improves speed of processing of data. Got it? So that is the actual thing. Okay, so maybe you need to identify what kind of issues that are experienced while uh, reducing map reducing, or like while identifying appropriate factors that could make evaluate decisions out of the existing data, that kind of thing. So try to identify those problems and address it. Otherwise, just cross check internet what kind of problems MapReduce will address. So you might get 4 or 5 issues. Okay, first explain what are those issues, then explain how Hadoop is resolving those issues. That is what asked in this document. Please try to address it properly. Okay, so these things, I don't see like all these things are related to Hadoop architecture. I have a doubt on it. Okay, these are some of the tools that perform maybe query analysis or some kind of map reducing techniques. But I want usually we want you to address in such a way that identify maybe 5 to 6 problems that map reduce can address. Okay, first explain those problems, 5 to 6 problems, then explain how Hadoop is resolving those problems. Okay, that is what expected in this document. Please address it properly, make needed corrections. All right, so I don't want these technology names mentioning here or here. These are some of the components that are related to the big data technology. We are about to discuss just MapReduce, and here we are going to discuss about just Hadoop. We just identify 5 to 6 problems. If we elaborate those problems, it becomes nearly, even if you write 50 words to 100 words for each problem, by elaborating it, it becomes 300 to 400 words easily. After that, you need to address like how this big data or Hadoop is addressing those problems. Maybe you can mention, so Hadoop contains a tool named by Flume, which addresses some XYZ issue that is explained above. How it does it does in this way. So you can explain in that manner. Okay, so please try to make those changes and update this document and send it to me. Immediately start working on this document. If you got any questions, please ask me. Please, you can call me. Okay, thank you.